Join us for Conspiracy Crypto Pirates. Arr.
Welcome to Conspiracy Crypto Pirates, episode 7. We made it.
We did.
Lucky number 7.
Lucky number 7.
All right, how are you doing?
I'm pretty good. The CIA hasn't killed us, at least.
I know, we're still rocking and rolling.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, the new year, new me.
Or are we just not talking about the important things?
Yeah. Not yet, anyway.
Not yet.
Maybe in 2024 when
Maybe.
things really go down.
We need more viewers, probably, before...
We hit the big topics.
Yeah.
We want all that attention.
Yeah.
Right. But did you know that Titanic actually never sank?
No.
Yeah.
What happened?
To the iceberg?
Yeah.
No, so...
The iceberg sank.
Yeah. So do you know who owned the Titanic?
No.
So J.P. Morgan owned the Titanic.
That's scary.
Right? So, and he also owned another ship called the Olympia.
Okay.
And the Olympia was a similar ship, but older and kind of beat up, run down. It was actually involved in a few accidents, it sounded like. So the rumor is that he actually scratched off Olympia on the Olympia ship, repainted over Titanic on the Olympia ship.
Interesting.
And then, so this was like a two-prong approach. So his plan was to sink it and to get the insurance money for the brand new Titanic, which cost, it was like $7 million to build.
Whoa.
Which back then, in today's dollars, it would have been about like $198 million. And, but not only was he looking to get the insurance money, because you think like, well, he's already a multi-millionaire back then.
Yeah.
He actually had a lot of the people that were on the ship were actually like his competitors in like all avenues. And he was supposed to be on that ship, and he canceled like minutes before it left dock. So
Okay.
yeah, right. So it's kind of a fascinating story, and supposedly pretty much everybody died on it. So there's hardly anybody to tell the tale. All his competitors, the bigger people that actually died on it, or that were on the ship, died. So none of those people survived at all. And one of the crew members survived, and like on his deathbed he said that it wasn't the Titanic, that it was the Olympia that sunk.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Because wasn't the Titanic supposed to be like you couldn't sink it in
Supposedly, yeah. They're one of their they were so excited about it is like they had all these like floodgate doors and everything was supposed to be unsinkable, supposedly. But I thought that was a fascinating story, because I mean, I'm thinking like, well, would he really try to defraud for $7 million when he's already, probably a billionaire even back then?
Yeah.
And you get to thinking about it, and it's like, if his main plot was to try to take out these people, then, well, I have this old ship. Why damage the new ship? Put it on the new ship. And because I don't know if it's, because I know when the Titanic first went out, it was like it was like a specially expensive ship. It was like a big to-do to be on the ship, which is probably what attracted all those wealthy individuals to cruise on it. But
just putting
right.
What is it? Makeup on a pig.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And he's like, well, if it's sinking, might as well sink the old one.
Right.
And I got to thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, how difficult would it be back then in the, I think it was 1800s?
Okay.
How difficult would it be to like defraud an insurance company back then? And I'm just thinking like compared to today.
Yeah. I'm sure they would have looked at the photos of the launching and all that. So it had to have been similar enough to be able to pass that off.
Yes, for sure. And from all rumors, the ships were very similar.
Yeah. Wasn't I thought there was like 3 people that were really high up, like you were saying, is people that were opposing him. I thought there were 3 people that were really high up that on the Titanic that opposed the Federal Reserve.
And he's a big banker. That's probably for the Federal Reserve.
That I mean,
That is interesting.
is part of the
The conspiracy.
That's one of the big conspiracies about the Titanic.
That is very fascinating. But going back to like the insurance claims, because I'm thinking, okay, back then, it's not like they had computer records that they could just like look up anything. It was all paperwork driven. Even taking pictures back then was kind of a novelty. It wasn't just like, oh, they took a picture of the Titanic.
Right.
And so like, and it sunk on it. Wasn't the Titanic, wasn't that its first voyage?
I think so.
So I feel like there wouldn't be that many records and being able to really look it up. Like if the ship's gone, the ship's gone. I mean, they're not going to go.
They sunk in a spot that, I mean, what? How many people died? Like 6 people died trying to go down to it.
Yeah.
As a tourist thing.
Yeah, recently. That was recently.
Yeah.
Because especially back then in the 1800s, where it sank, I mean, it was unretrievable. So I feel like you really tied up loose ends as far as that avenue goes. And then if there's like an insurance adjuster back in the 1800s, I feel like it would be really if one got curious and more interested and looked into it, it'd be very easy to pay off an insurance adjuster in the 1800s. Be like, here's 10 grand. You know, 10 grand back then would have been, he would have been set for life. Probably, well,
Close.
but you
Close
know,
enough, yeah. I mean,
maybe 15
what
grand.
do politicians do these days? 10 grand, they'll probably just pocket that and be like, thank you very much.
Yeah. Well,
You know, I'll vote for this little thing. You got my signature.
Exactly.
You know, it's like,
I mean, it's like those bills with a gajillion things in it that they just, oh, I'll pay you X amount and just add this to that bill, this
Right.
thing that helps this company.
yeah, $1 million later of $10,000 each, you know.
Right? But yeah, it's kind of a fascinating story. And looking back at like J.P. Morgan and doing a little history just on him, I mean, he was a ruthless guy. Like, he was by no means a saint of an individual.
Okay, that's interesting.
So it's not like I wouldn't put it past him in that regard. The only thing I could think of, like, well, would he risk it for prison or whatever? But I feel like,
Probably risk a little less,
yeah, for
you
more.
know, to get to the spot that he's at.
Yeah. And I feel like back then, the paper trails aren't as catching up to people as they probably are today. So I feel like, yeah, I probably wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah, you don't have a digital mark and a signature mark.
Right,
It's just
and-
like, okay, I'll just do a signature and slide that piece of paper.
Yeah. And no, like, satellite footage of where the ship went down and images of cameras on the port as it left, you know.
Yeah.
There's none of that. So I feel like it would have been relatively easy to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you don't put enough boats on it to save everybody.
Right, which makes another, if he's
Life
life
rafts.
preserver, the stuff, yeah, life rafts.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is if he's trying to get rid of those people, well, don't put the boats on.
Yeah. And since it's unsinkable, you have an excuse to do so.
To not put the boats. And I didn't even think of that angle. Huh. Oh, man. But yeah, what do you got for me?
Shoot.
Ooh. He's pulling out his phone, folks. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, let me just listen to a video real quick.
Yeah. Listen to an hour podcast while I wait here. Don't worry, I got time. But, yeah.
So, have you heard of all the news going on with Jeffrey Epstein lately?
Yeah. Yes, I have.
So we pretty much got a couple names so far, which is interesting.
Can I ask a question there? Because I know about it. There's a lot of holes that I don't know. I know the new information. I know a lot of information came out,
Okay.
and I know there's a lot of names. But from the little bit I heard, it's almost a repeat of already what we know.
a repeat of the big rumors. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So pretty much, which is also Megyn Kelly.
Yeah.
She came out and she said that that there's going to be a whole lot more information coming out on the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing,
Okay.
and that we might hear from Jeffrey Epstein himself.
Really?
That was a illusion she was putting out there. She really put out just a little bit of information that just sparked your curiosity that we might hear from Jeffrey Epstein himself.
Oh, that's weird. And a huge individual like that saying that seems...
She had it seemed like she already had the information. She was just keeping it silent for now, but she was giving a little teaser.
Weird.
Like, we got a little teaser, like Bill Clinton was, at least 50 times or more.
Wasn't it like 70 or something?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And then, talking about Bill Clinton, 50 times on the going back and forth or more, maybe 70. But did you hear that when the FBI raided the compound, they had a painting of Jeffrey Epstein. Sorry, they had a painting of Bill Clinton in a dress. Just a big portrait. And then
why would you want that on your wall?
Well, I mean, there's... Okay, so you have the basic rumors that then Bill Clinton is doing these interesting things and all that kind of stuff. But one of the rumors that I thought was very interesting is that Jeffrey Epstein despised Bill Clinton.
So why would he have him on his island 50 plus times?
Well, I mean, money.
Well,
Bill
I
Clinton's
know.
a powerful person, so you have all those combinations kind of going together. And then, but if you despise him, you embarrass him by putting him in a dress that everybody that comes to see sees it.
But wouldn't... That's interesting. Like, it makes sense, but at the same time, I feel like if you're trying... You wouldn't want to piss off your customers. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because, like, if they're coming back, why would you do that? I mean, you answered the question.
Jeffrey Epstein's a powerful person. So, or maybe Bill Clinton, that was his dirty little secret.
Maybe.
Or it's just rumor, and if someone put it up there right before everything happened, then the FBI comes and takes it down. So there's a lot of different rumors that could go on.
Was that painting a Biden? Did he have a Biden commission it?
Maybe.
Interesting.
But also, according to some rumors, is that Jeffrey Epstein, when the FBI came and raided his place, they found over 20,000 photos and videos of clients and victims.
That doesn't surprise me.
So,
but those are still, like, hidden right now, right? All that hasn't come out.
All we've heard is Bill Gates and Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, talking about Bill Gates.
Yeah.
So, Bill Gates, his wife divorced him.
Okay.
Not because of it, but that was one of the big factors that played into it. She said, Bill Gates' wife said that Bill Gates went to him multiple times, and she's like, I don't want you hanging out with that dude. And so she's like, you know what? I'm going to go meet him. She said she met him once. And she's like, at the very first moment, she's like, I was done. It was pure evil. Meeting Jeffrey Epstein.
Coming from Gates.
Well, Gates' wife.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And then...
There's rumors about them.
She said, right? She said that she had nightmares from him. From meeting him just once.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And she was like, I felt sorry for all those girls that...
That's crazy. Man.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
I know.
But, going into Bill Gates,
Okay.
I know last week we talked about like Windows and how there's several like government entities
Okay.
that like still use Windows XP
Yeah.
or whatever. So I did a little more research on it, and the research was saying that this is now worldwide. That from September, this is from September 2021, so it's a couple
Okay.
years old. But 53.5% of desktops in America are still using XP.
53.
53%.
Well, I've heard that, like, from computer people, that was the last real, like, good Windows update.
Yeah. It was a big one. Like, everybody really loved XP. And then I know the ones subsequent after that were kind of dumpster fires for a while, and then they got better over time.
They got better over time, but still, I think that allowed you to do a lot with your computer, gave you a lot of freedoms, or I think for security reasons and other reasons that they've kind of like made it more randomized.
Right.
To make it harder for people to be able to hack, which also makes it harder for people to be able to use it for what they want it if they know what they're doing.
For sure. That's crazy. What was I going to say? Something about XP. I think a lot of even the government is continuing, because I know like last week we talked about Windows 95, 98, how there's still several government ordinances that use that. Well, XP exponentially more. Like, I mean, it went from bad, like really bad, to bad. So that's kind of funny.
Yeah, I know that was one thing that Trump was saying, is that he's like, we're in the dark ages on the computer side on a lot of things.
That's so weird. And you think of like the government in America, you'd think we would be at the forefront.
Yeah, which, I mean, there's an element of security to it.
Yeah, and I think there's an element of bureaucracy. I was talking to somebody I know personally that works for AT&T.
Oh, okay.
And they were saying that it's so bureaucratic that, for instance, there's an area where they have like not servers, but like relay stations throughout.
Okay, yeah.
And there's one area that I think they had like a 10 gigabit chip in there, or maybe it was 100. It was a big chip because it's, where everything's coming in. And in there, they have like a rack that holds these things with fans and everything. And the units kind of come as like all one. So rack, fan, and then the cards can be slipped in and out.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Well, the rack is shot, he said. And like the fans are shot. So there's no coolant on these cards.
Ooh.
And they're burning through these cards like daily, and these cards are like $20,000 cards. And he says we need a new rack to put in there, which the rack is $200,000. But he said right now all he has permission to do is put a new card in. But every day there's 20,000 gone, 20,000 gone, 20,000 gone. I mean, 200,000 adds up.
But I mean, I'm wondering how many racks
it's just
they
one.
have.
Oh, they probably have a bunch, but he's talking about just one. Like, they just need to replace this one, 200,000, you'd be done.
Oh, okay. So there's one rack that's bad.
Yes.
That just needs updating.
Yeah. So.
But they're spending $200,000 every 10 days instead of updating it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he said, like, and plus all the work, his time that they are paying him to replace it every day versus a little bit of a longer process to replace the whole thing. And he was just saying that the bureaucracy of doing that is so ridiculous. and I think that's just AT&T. And you think of the government and like their computer systems. I imagine it very similar. Like the bureaucracy to change from Windows XP to Windows, the next version is probably insane, which is probably why we're so behind in that regard.
If you scallywags don't like and subscribe, then I'll send my man after you. Go get him.
Well, I know. I think. Oh, where is it? Okay, I think there's a Catholic church in Israel that. Well, I think it used to be Catholic, and then so there's multiple different religious organizations that kind of got together and we're like, we're not going to fight over it. We're just all going to peacefully do it. So if anything changes, everybody has to agree.
Okay.
And so there's this ladder that's up in this like obvious place that you don't really want a ladder, but someone accidentally left a ladder, I think, and it's staying up there. And
is this on a wall or a church? Or
so there's like a wall and then like a little flat spot and then another wall. It's up on that spot.
Okay.
And
so like in holy sites.
Yeah, in a holy site that multiple different religious organizations all kind of claim and want to have as their own.
Gotcha.
And so they can't move that ladder, even though it's up there and nobody really wants it. But like it's a power struggle, and it's been up there for a ridiculously long time.
So the ladder itself isn't even like a religious relic or anything?
No.
It's just like a painter came, did their job, left the ladder, and then
exactly.
Now they have like this huge bureaucratic thing just to move the ladder.
Yes. So talking about bureaucracy, just imagine that in the religious sense with different religions all kind of coming together peacefully.
That is, it's so sad and yet hilarious.
It's hilarious.
Man, people just, they can't get along. That's crazy. Which kind of reminds me of, I did a little bit more research on, remember the last couple of weeks I was kind of talking about mercury in the steeples of churches and old buildings. So I thought it would actually be very easy to do research on. There's not that much information out there on there.
Okay. Is it because it's kind of more like a conspiracy rumor just isn't so, or do you think there's a slim chance that okay
yes. No, it's interesting because even a conspiracy I thought I would find still quite a bit of information on it, of like conspiracy people talking about it like we're doing now, but but there's quite a bit of evidence for it. That's what's interesting.
Okay, so there's actually a little bit of legitimacy to it.
Yeah. So the steeples, right? They were a lot of the time, if you like look at pictures and stuff, there's like big copper balls. Like it'll be like steeple, it'll be like a pole and then a copper ball, and then they might have a cross or something on top of that.
Yeah, or a pointy thing.
Yeah. So they've inside those copper balls, they have actually found what did they call it? It's liquid mercury in those copper balls. Why would you put liquid mercury in the copper ball? And then they've done, go ahead.
Would mercury be created? I mean, I'm not a chemist at all, but would mercury be created from the lightning strike in the copper ball?
I don't think so.
Okay.
That's
the only thing that I could think of, because like lightning would strike that.
And then a little bit over time build up. I don't think that's possible, but that's an interesting theory to look into.
Full of interesting
I know, right? You're very interesting, scallywag.
May not be true at all, but interesting.
But what I thought was very fascinating was they've done experiments with mercury, and they've had like voltage meters or whatever. And if you get mercury like in a little test tube or whatever, and you just spin it like this over it, it generates voltage. And then they've done the same thing with like copper. You do the same thing with copper over it, nothing happens. So the mercury was definitely the connective,
the key component.
And then they would run these wires from there down, and then they'd be able to plug things in and use the electricity in that regard. So then probably a skeptic, which I mean I'm skeptical on it as well. I mean, it's like, well, could that just be a grounding wire? You know, because the electricity hits it, they just ground it, keep the building from burning down.
Today.
Yeah, exactly. But without the mercury. And then, so I wrote some notes. They would have these brass balls in them. So inside the copper thing, there would be a brass ball, inside of that,
With the mercury.
inside of the brass ball
Okay.
was the mercury.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So they had the big round thing that you would see, and then inside that was the brass balls, and then inside the brass balls was the mercury.
Yes. And they have found those brass balls. Fascinating, huh?
Yeah.
And then convert the...
Wasn't it just to keep the evil demons away?
Right? And then in that research, I was looking into, mercury and everything. And in the early 1800s, so kind of beginning of our known electricity era, they used a lot of mercury. So like the first cars in the world or whatever were actually electric cars. And weird, huh? And from those electric cars, they would use alternate. So the first power plant was AC, so alternate current. But you can't run cars and all this off of alternate current. It has to be direct current.
Okay.
But they would have these mercury arc rectifiers, which were basically a kind of converter. And the way they almost look like this, like an old light bulb, like an Edison bulb, but like a little bit bigger and elongated, and there'd be mercury in there.
Interesting.
And somehow through that reaction, blah, 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 they were able to convert the AC to DC and able to like charge their cars and everything. And some of these cars, like they have like pictures of them, and like on the side of them, it would say range of 150 miles.
What?
Yeah. I mean, granted, they're probably going 10, 15, 20 miles an hour.
Yeah, and you're probably talking about the smoothness of the road not being as smooth, so it's probably like everything, at least within Tesla.
Yeah.
They're talking about wind drag, smoothness of the wheels and all that. That probably, like, that's out of the window probably.
Right.
So.
But it's just fascinating. Like in the 1800s, they had a lot of this stuff that you wouldn't even think about today. But yeah, I definitely want to do more research on mercury. I've seen some stuff that's people have made motors that like run somehow off mercury. That looked interesting.
Yeah. So was it the mercury like creating constant energy, or was it a mercury battery?
Good question. So for the cars, the battery, they might have, not 100% sure on how they made the batteries.
Okay.
When I was doing the research on that, it was more talking about the what I call it, the mercury arc director or whatever that basically converted the converter.
AC/DC.
As far as the mercury in the little balls, like ancient, so like further back in time, those technically it would connect somehow with the atmosphere. I wrote it down. Atmospheric energy. It would capture the atmospheric energy. And from there, with the research, so modern day research, to get the mercury to generate electricity, you have to spin it.
Okay.
Being up there, it could be more like a windmill type situation where it spins in the wind. And then, so it's spinning, and then somehow it would harness the atmospheric energy, generating electricity, and so forth. So fascinating.
That is very interesting.
I know. And even like the mercury converter, I mean, that wasn't that long ago. Like, and that's of modern era or modern electricity in this argument. And like, I still have never heard of that. So, fascinating. Mercury is weird. Have you seen liquid mercury? Like,
no.
I mean, I've seen videos. I haven't seen it in person. But it's like water.
I heard it's very toxic to you.
Yes, it is toxic, which is probably why we don't use it today.
Which is interesting is that Obama was really fighting to get away from the traditional light bulbs, and that's why we have LEDs now. But he was really pushing mercury light bulbs.
Oh, weird.
Which is also a very interesting thing.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, every single time you break one, then you have a
biohazard spill.
Yeah, that you have to have people come in with suits and...
Right. Well, like thermometers, at least the old ones had mercury in it, and that's how it measured. Yeah.
Mom, the thermometer broke. No.
Yeah. But it's weird looking stuff. It's like, it looks like water, but it's like silver and like metal. It's really cool looking.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, do you have any information on any crypto updates?
A little bit.
Okay, shoot.
So, we have the ETF that's coming, right?
Yes.
Supposedly. There was this last week, this rogue, I don't know if we could call it rogue, but a reporter for one of the kind of major news agencies that randomly wrote a post saying that the Bitcoin ETF wasn't coming on January 10th. Okay. And that dropped like every crypto giant red candle down.
That would explain the red wave.
Yes. So that dropped everything. Okay. And there was actually 2 reporters that like said that. But what's funny is days before that, those 2 reporters were saying the opposite thing, that it was happening January 10th, blah, blah, blah. Which you can say, oh, maybe they had new information and they're just writing what they think is happening.
Yeah.
Which is legitimate, potentially. But the SEC never came out and said...
Denied it
or claimed it to be true. Yeah. So, that being said, a lot of crypto individuals think it's just a bunch of FUD. And that they were basically hired to write that story, drop the market, the whales or whoever, the powers that be, buy in at lower.
Yeah.
And the ETF is still happening in a few days.
Okay.
But there's also rumors that it's going to be not necessarily canceled, but delayed, which is kind of what you and I have been suspecting, that it's going to be delayed for, I don't know, maybe another 2 or 3 months till April, May.
Yeah.
So... And
everything gets delayed to then.
Well, and that was one of... one of the rumors for being delayed is the SEC came out and they said that just due to the holidays and everything, they just kind of have a lot of paperwork and it's backed up right now. And that's why it might be delayed, which sounds like a bunch of BS. Like what?
I mean, either you're going to do it or you're not. So, I mean, this is a new thing, so they really have, you're creating a new system, really.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what they're trying to do, is create a new system, so it's this is what you do, this is what you need, this is why it's rejected, and this is why it's not.
Right.
But I can also see them approving stuff and then suing people.
Yeah, right.
Just for the fun of it.
For sure. And the fact that they keep these rumors for delaying and everything, I feel like it just kind of adds to the whole FUD market of, I feel like they're holding back for a date and a time that they know when they're going to do it.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And you have people jumping the gun. I mean, BlackRock is really, I don't really think BlackRock is really doing anything against the norm of where they're wanting to go. But
on the positive side of things, why it looks like it's still going to happen is all the companies that are going to have the ETF are getting it approved or getting their ticker symbols approved. All the paperwork on that side that doesn't really have necessarily do with any regulations or anything. It's just the paperwork to put it on the stock exchange.
Okay.
All that is being done right now and approved and on track for January 10th.
I did not know that. That is interesting.
Yeah. And then there's some more crazy predictions for XRP
Okay.
is obviously we know the SEC's in lawsuit with XRP, all that, right? Supposedly the SEC has offered, this is like backdoor meetings, like don't know if this is true or not, but supposedly the SEC has offered XRP, Ripple, who owns XRP or whatever, a settlement for basically for 352. It would work out to be $352 per XRP.
I don't know too many XRP people that actually take that.
352, yeah.
I mean, they might go and like do a little bit, but the XRP holders out there, I don't know. They'd probably just laugh at that.
Wait for the 10 grand.
Wait for the 10. I've heard 12, 50, but
right. And supposedly, like, they haven't agreed or accepted it yet. They're like contemplating it right now. So I don't know how much validity there is to that, but that was kind of an interesting XRP. Do you have any crypto
news? A little bit. So kind of going back to the Bitcoin ETF and all that, I was listening to Mark Moss. He said this about a month ago, though, and I was just listening to it, and he was saying that even with good news, people will still, like, once the good news comes out, it'll still drop. And he was saying, like, the normal saying, buy the rumors, sell the news.
Right.
Which is interesting.
That always seems to happen.
Always.
Except for there's rumors that the God candle will happen when the ETF happens.
What is? Oh, the candle of this. Yeah.
Yeah, the big green God candle.
Yeah.
That is, and that seems par for the course for everything. It seems like even businesses, when investing in businesses, it always seems like the rumor always is where you see the green, and the actual announcement or whatever is a red day or red.
Well, for me, like looking at it, going back and forth, and just looking at it for the length of time that I have, which probably isn't as much as some people, but I've been watching it for a little bit, and it always seems like that is the case. Like the Doge moon rocket is going up, and so you're like, okay, I'm going to buy it. But really, when you hear about it, is like a couple days beforehand, and then is when the news is pushing it, and then it goes, and then it has like a little bump maybe, and then it just slowly goes down. And
what's funny and interesting is I feel like the Doge, the only difference is, the only time that I've seen a change is with the Doge, because there was all that hype when Doge was going to be on Saturday Night Live, or when Musk was going to be on Saturday Night Live, and you know the price was going up leading up into Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Which in that instance would be like, okay, you would sell it before he goes on air. The price actually continued to go up literally until like halfway through the sketch.
Yeah.
So in that one instance, even during the event or halfway through the event, it was still going up.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because everybody's excited, they're watching it, it's going up. And buying into it and so forth. Which leads me to think if the Doge 1 moon landing launch ever does happen, which last I've heard January 12th, which is right around the corner, but I've heard 0. So I don't know. I feel like if it was happening January 12th, there would be rumors. Probably. Honestly, with how Musk lines everything up, I wouldn't be surprised if he's waiting for the ETF. Because if the ETF happens, that's going to be like the start of the bull market. Like, I mean, I know we've said we're starting the bull market, but like the God candle, for instance.
Yeah.
Tons of hype.
Like,
blah,
we started
blah, blah.
the bull market, but you're still
down here, but the angle is up.
Yeah, so if you look at the short term, it looks ginormous.
Right.
But then if you go back like a year or two, it just looks like a little going up, and then you have the exponential. We're not quite at the exponential.
Exactly. So part of me wonders, if he is actually waiting for the ETF to happen. ETF happens, then all the excitement, the launch is happening, which as a Doge holder, I'm fine with waiting. I mean, I've been waiting this long. Like, don't
let Elon Musk do his plan.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably has a little more information. Access to information than you.
That was another interesting thing, was how they think that he has a definite plan with utilizing Dogecoin specifically.
Okay.
They've looked into like the Tesla website and how they have made an entire payment checkout system for Dogecoin on Tesla.
Okay.
That it would cost, like, he had to go out, hire specific Doge developers or developers to focus on Dogecoin. Like, to make this payment system that he's made, it would have cost like several $1 million.
Oh.
And it's like, is it a several $1 million joke? Like, I feel like if it was a joke, you wouldn't spend millions of dollars.
When did he do this, though?
I think over the last few years.
Oh, okay. So this has been a long process.
I mean, I don't know if it's taking 2 years, but within the last couple years, they've done this.
So kind of when Doge was at the bottom, he didn't do it at the peak. Like last time he had where you could buy Tesla with, I think it was Doge and, what is it, Bitcoin?
Yes. So, yes. You could buy it with Bitcoin. For the cars themselves, you couldn't use Doge yet. It was their
belt buckle or
all their little fun
trinkets.
Which is honestly probably a testing the everything, make sure it's good and everything. And then what I'm thinking too, I mean, he owns Twitter and now X. If they've already
built,
is
interesting.
Yeah.
XRP. XLM
or Doge, because like his Twitter profile still has a little Doge on it. And what's fascinating is if he spent millions with Tesla to develop payment structure, all this stuff. I mean, he owns X or Twitter. He can literally copy and paste it over and be utilizing it on Twitter or all of his platforms. For payment, because they're starting to do the whole payment creator program on X. Rumor is that will turn to Dogecoin, a whole payment structure, sending Dogecoin. I don't know.
Okay. Well, have you heard how Elon Musk really got started with all his money?
How's that?
So he started X.com. So X was pretty much his baby. And it was kind of like a PayPal type of a situation where it's online payments at the very beginning where people really didn't trust online payments and all that. Like if you were to go buy something right now with Bitcoin online, would you do it? Probably not.
Yeah, it's a little bit iffy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, this is probably a scam. Because once you give it, you don't get it back. Type of a situation.
Exactly.
So then he joined PayPal, which then you have the PayPal Mafia, which is like 30 different people in that group that have all like gone off and after they sold the business, gone off, started other businesses and became successful like that. The PayPal Mafia is a very big, successful group of people.
Okay.
Which is also a very interesting thing. But so at the beginning, Elon Musk was very interested in the payment structure. And then you go back, removing the payment. Then he gets into vehicles and rockets and all that.
Yeah.
And then he buys Twitter. And then after he buys Twitter, he then goes back to PayPal, buys the right to X.com because PayPal had the right to X.com.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So then he went and bought the rights to X.com. So X.com is really, like if you look at it, started out as a financial thing. Mm-hmm. Now it's a social media site. Mm-hmm. But I think his plan is to go back to his roots in financial on that.
Which would make sense with his other claims that he's made where he said something about how he wants X to... Basically, people won't use banks anymore. They'll just use, like, X.
That's a scary thing for banks.
Yeah, very scary.
I mean, that goes... Just imagine how powerful and how rich if that was the case. X.com.
Oh, yeah.
One of the hardest things, though, on why people don't compete in the United States on, like, the financial credit cards and all that.
Yeah.
Why we don't have new people coming in on the credit card. It's always like a Visa or MasterCard
or Bank of America or what? Yeah.
Yeah, they all use the same system. Is because we have that fraud prevention, and that was to get people to start using it. Is well, if I have a card that has access to everything, someone can just swipe it, steal it, swipe it, and then run off with the money.
Right.
And so then online came, and now there's a whole new thing. So. Of security risk.
Right.
And so to keep people to use it, like the person was saying that, like you got to count in like, I think 10 to 15% of your customers or of your profit is going to go back to paying off people that...
the credit card industry, basically?
Because the credit card's not going to... kick all that on themselves. They're just kicking it back onto the producers.
Customer.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And so they said, "Oh, I didn't buy that," and then their profit, their sell just got canceled.
Oh,
and so that keeps everybody out from going into that industry. Which I'm very curious on how XRP. Or the crypto industry, Bitcoin, is going to penetrate that. Because I don't want to be paying, personally, I don't want to be paying something that I don't have a security knowing that I'm getting. Like if you go to like Walmart.com or something like that, then you're like, okay, I'm probably going to get it.
Right. Which is why people, trust Amazon. Like, I mean, myself, personally, I've gone to, it'll be like a random product that looks cool, want it or whatever, go to their website. I could buy it through their website, but then I look on Amazon, same price on Amazon, and I'm like, I trust Amazon. Like, I'm just going to buy it through Amazon. Shipping. Yeah. So I'm like, I'll just buy it on Amazon. At that point, I don't feel sketched out on Amazon because I'm like, if it doesn't work, I'll just contact them and they'll give me my money back or whatever. Yeah. That's interesting. That makes sense.
But you want to also know an interesting thing? So going back to Walmart, here, let me find it before I really start.
I've got lots of information about Walmart for you. You know the strangest thing I've seen in Walmart? That's a loaded question.
That could be very scary.
Non-human related strangest things.
Aliens?
The Greys. No, I've a chicken bone in with the Halloween candy, just like in a box, like a chicken bone. Like basically, a customer got one of the Walmart chickens, ate it in the store, and threw the chicken bone in the Halloween candy.
That's nasty.
Yeah, very nasty.
No. Okay, going back to Walmart.
Yeah.
So 1962 is when Walmart started.
Gotcha.
There's two other businesses that also started in 1962, and that was Target and Costco.
Wow, they all started in 1962.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
That is very fascinating. And Kmart was around at that time. At that time, Kmart also took out a big, huge loan, and like over 5 years, created 250 new locations.
Wow.
And at that time, Walmart only created 9 new locations in those 5 years.
Okay. Wow.
Which is super fast from going from start to 9.
Yeah, but
or
not
10.
like Kmart were.
Yeah, but Kmart was already around.
Okay.
So they had a little more...
wiggle room.
Yeah, they had more ground, more wheels spinning or something like that, whatever. But, and then now Kmart's out of business. But, but going back to that, I'm very curious, and I did not do the research, but I'm very curious, what happened in 1962 that 3 of the biggest companies today started all in that year?
And they were all like grocery store, like shops.
Yeah, like Kmart.
Yeah.
Walmart and Target all started, well, all kind of the same model. Different philosophies, but same group of people that they're targeting, same products. Costco kind of has taken a little bit of a different route.
Yeah.
It just like and subscribe.
Where they try, like Walmart, you'll have thousands, tens of thousands of different products all in that same store.
Yeah.
Where Costco, maybe 1,000.
Right.
Just around 1,000, I think.
Right.
They try and keep their SKU mark or the amount of products they have to a minimum.
Right. Which makes sense why it's so hard for companies to get into Costco to sell their product. I wonder, was Costco always that way? Like, as far as like how their business was, or has it changed over time?
I think it's changed over time. So I think at the beginning they started and they were just trying to find their mark.
Yeah,
in
their
the
niche.
industry.
Yeah.
And I think it was relatively early on that they really started knocking down their SKU mark. Like they had a bunch and then they really knocked it down.
Huh.
And then it's even harder because, I mean, at Costco, you can't really keep up with the Costco market as a producer.
Right.
And so, like, if you're small and you have a product and you get onto Costco, they're selling so much of it that a lot of times they create their own Kirkland brand.
Yeah. No, I was talking to somebody in the industry that I'm in, and they were saying that if you get one SKU of anything in Costco, like your company, your small little company, you get one SKU, you're a millionaire. Just right off.
Ridiculous.
And it was this person that, it was like their daughter has this like tiny little cookie company or bakery or whatever.
Yeah.
She got like a sugar cookie, like one sugar cookie into Costco.
Wow.
And like
made.
She's made. And it's like, oh my gosh, a sugar cookie. That is fascinating. Did you know that Egypt is making a new capital city?
No, is it kind of like India where they have Delhi and New Delhi?
I have no idea. Why did people get sick on the old Delhi?
I don't know.
No, it's a $45 billion new capital city, which is a lot of money, but when you think about it, you're like, only $45 billion? But things cost a little bit less over there.
Yeah, I mean, that just might be on the governmental side that they're spending.
Yeah, that's true.
All the new government buildings and then all the new development
will come in through other companies. And then the centerpiece of the city, they're building, it's going to be the world's largest skyscraper, and it's going to be an obelisk, which, you know what an obelisk is?
No.
It's like the Washington Monument, like that shape.
Oh, okay.
Like triangular. It's very Egyptian.
Yeah.
It's this massive skyscraper that's like, I think I got some details on it. So it's going to be taller than the one in Dubai.
Okay. Everyone's competing with Dubai.
Right. So the city is going to be completed in 2030, which really is right around the corner
pretty
for building a
fast.
city.
Yeah.
Which I don't know when they started, so I don't know if this has been a 30-year project. Or shaped like an obelisk, 1,000 meters in height,
Wow.
and it's going to cost $3 billion to build. Go ahead.
Like, isn't a meter like 3.2 feet? So you're talking 3,200 feet about.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
It's going to be huge. And it has these, or it's going to have these like shutter things on it that turn a special way to like refract the sunlight to keep the temperature cool inside.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Especially for a desert.
Yeah. But it sounds really cool. Like, it sounds like it's going to be like a spectacle for sure. But I didn't even know they were building a city or this obelisk, for instance.
Right.
But yeah, and what's like, because Cairo is their capital city right now. And it's kind of funny to think of, because most countries and nations, they don't really change their capital city. Like,
Right.
maybe they add on, like, put a new section. Like, you would think it would be like they would build a new Cairo right next to old Cairo. Mm-hmm. But no, it's like in a different area that they're doing this in.
Yeah.
So,
Isn't Saudi Arabia doing something of that nature? Not like the capital, but they're building like this.
oh, the wall?
The wall.
I've seen that, yeah.
And it's like all glass on the outside and reflective.
Yeah.
That
and
is
it's
weird.
huge, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be, we should do more research on that one. I'd like to get more details on it.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. I wonder how long that one's going to take to build. Like, where do they get people to build this stuff? At that level?
Probably Germany and America.
Yeah. And part of it, because there was something I was saying, because it's only going to cost them $3 billion to build this massive skyscraper. I want to say it was going to be like $3 billion. I think it cost Dubai that built that one, like somewhere around there, $3 billion to build it. And then they were comparing, like, if they built that same building in America, it would cost like 40-something billion.
I wouldn't doubt it.
With labor unions and everything. So they definitely can do things for cheaper.
But also, I wonder how many people died building that.
True.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, throughout time, America, all the buildings that we had, we've created these safety standards, which a lot of it is good and a lot of it's bad, you know?
Right.
And so, and I mean, it bugs, I know, construction people that get bugged by some of the safety things that are like, it's stupid. And then other things, are all about. So, especially when you see an incident happen, you're like, okay, like maybe I should.
Yeah. Maybe that was smart.
Right.
Well, and I think everything in moderation too. I mean, just like with, government laws and stuff. I mean, it's like the more laws that they make, it might make sense for the law, but overall, it's like you're bogging people down with so much red tape. Mm-hmm. It's probably the same thing.
Yeah, it's just like why people don't want to build in California.
That makes sense.
Like, do you want to own a business in California? Do you want to build a building in California? It's going to cost you so much more just on all the red tape and taxes and all of that it's, you might as well just not do it at that point.
Right. It's not, might as well move the thing that you're going to build there into another state for fraction of the price. And
yeah. Well, that's why you have like Vegas and Reno blowing up.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's just trucking.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of it, like, they'll go from the ports, ship everything up to Reno and Vegas from the California ports, and then they'll go from there back to California.
Wow.
Because it's cheaper to build a brand new building and all that.
And pay the extra gas to drive the thing.
And the trucker time and all that.
I saw just yesterday on the back of a semi-truck. It was like, they advertised for their company, like on the back, and they were trying to get more truckers.
Okay.
And it said their starting wages for this company was $96,000 for a trucker.
That's not bad.
That's a good living. I was like, maybe I should become a trucker. Thinking, where my pirate at?
I'm sure
Pirate
you
trucking.
can. I think just as long as you get from point A to point B, I think you can do almost anything.
Especially in this economy, for sure. That's funny. But yeah, do you have anything else for me?
Yes.
Oh, phenomenal. I have so many notes, and I'm like trying not to look too much, but I feel like I have them jammed together too close to be able, like, between what's the facts and then what's the next story I wanted to talk about.
Right. Man, there's so much in California going on right now that's ridiculous. Like all these new laws coming into effect. I don't know if I wrote them down in a good format to be able to present right now. I'll probably have to clean it up.
I have one that's short and sweet. But
okay.
So students in Germany have a book or they're taught actually on this book where they learn about U.S. propaganda.
Interesting.
And the book is called American Dream. And it teaches like how propaganda in America is.
Okay.
And it is almost impossible to find
in America?
In America, that book. So like Googling it, good luck.
I'm sure you can find it pretty easily in America. It's just
not
in English.
Yeah, right? And I was like, that would be fascinating to find that book.
Yeah.
And just like, whether it's true or not, don't know, but it's like actual German students in school are taught from this book.
Yeah.
That, I think, is interesting.
That is very interesting.
Cancelled.
Yeah. Talking about cancellations, did you hear that the Democratic Party is wanting to cancel FM radio?
Is that because like the Rush Limbaughs and all that?
No, that's AM.
Oh, that's
that'd
AM
be
radio.
more AM radio. This is FM radio that, I mean, you mostly music and all that.
Why do they want to cancel that?
I don't know. But it's like, looking back into it, it's like, why would you want to cancel FM radio or radio altogether? Because that's pretty much just all radio together.
Yeah.
That is a form of getting information out.
Sure.
That, like, say if something catastrophic does happen, like, that'd be one way of broadcasting that everybody could hear.
If they have radios anymore.
Like, what is an emergency? It's pretty much an emergency backup, is your radio. Now, since you have your phone and all that.
Right.
It's pretty much an emergency backup.
Yeah, it's on a different technology wavelength than everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so why would you want to cancel that unless they have a really hard time of not controlling it?
That's interesting. I mean, I know a lot of stuff like that, they like to repurpose the spectrum.
Okay. So they just want to sell it to a different...
Right.
That could be the case.
They want
Way to ruin my conspiracy theory.
No. I'm just trying to think through... I think that could be very accurate what you're talking about, but I'm also thinking of like a more
logical
what they could be looking for.
But FM is a very, like, cell phone usage is a tighter wavelength, where FM is a little longer of a wavelength.
Which would be valuable.
Where AM is even longer, and you can't transport that much data. So I don't see, like, radios, like a cell phone company really using that. Unless they're wanting to transport information from a long distance away. Or maybe there's too many handheld FM radios going back and forth. And so if you make that illegal, now your little radio walkie-talkie that you use while skiing or with your family or something like that, maybe that is to limit that, because I know a lot of preppers have different handheld radios that you pretty much pick your channel and then that you can listen to the radio. So it might be to limit the prep people.
Right.
ability to be able to buy radios and walkie-talkies and communicate with each other in that format.
But would FM limit that? Is that what walkie-talkies run off of? Is like the
I think
FM?
it runs on that wavelength because you can also, or that spectrum of wavelength, because I know you can pretty much use your walkie-talkie as a radio.
Right.
So,
That's interesting.
You get into very interesting aspects along that, which I didn't even think about that until now. Mm-hmm. Kind of getting the preppers, like, knocking their ability to prep.
Yeah.
But also, if you're using a walkie-talkie, you just pinpointed your location to anybody that has military capability. Like, if China was to invade, let's just use that, and you use your walkie-talkie, they would be able to pinpoint through triangulation
where you are,
where you are, like that. So that's not the greatest format. There's other formats that they've developed to be able to talk to different people, kind of with your cell phone, and it pretty much looks like a microwave or a refrigerator or something like that.
Right.
That they can't really tell, and then you also make it cryptic, and then you would have to have your grid, but it doesn't transfer as far.
Okay. Huh. That's interesting.
So,
did you see, well, speaking of kind of war and all that, did you see where China, they have satellite images in like a desert in China where they have like a replica of one of our aircraft carriers. It's like the USS
in the desert?
Ford. Yeah, in the desert.
Maybe global warming is a factor and they're just waiting for the sea to rise.
Well, the theory is it's for like practicing like bombing and like running stuff like that on.
Yeah. See where the weak points are and all that.
Yeah. This is kind of random.
What we have in our desert.
Yeah.
Area 51.
Yeah. There's been a lot of talk and rumor around. Did you hear about the that movie on Netflix that Obama was?
Oh yeah.
Like
it's
creative
a security cyber breach or something like that.
Excuse me.
Like end times by cyber attack.
Yeah, and it was like a giant cybersecurity hack. Basically, all electronics, everything went out in the movie. I haven't seen it yet. I kind of want to now.
Yeah.
And anyway, long story short, basically the conspiracy around that is it kind of like one of those Simpson things where they are
foretell the future?
Yeah, they get away with telling you what's going to happen, or like it makes them feel better inside by telling you.
Yeah, it gives them the moral ability to be able to do a cyber attack because they already told you in advance.
Yeah.
Which, in a cryptic way, like, say 9/11, there's a lot of rumors around 9/11 where you have, like, a watch company that had the time 9/11 on the watch, or you had, like, the whole Simpsons and all the cartoons that kind of foretell.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of things about 9/11 and actually use the date 9/11 before 9/11 actually did happen, which is, like, I mean, could be all a quinkadink, you know, or it could be, like, there's a lot of conspiracies around that. Which I don't know how true those are. I don't want to believe that they're true, but there's also a little bit of information out there that you're like, is it really? Like, it puts doubt in your mind that is it true or not.
For sure.
Which there's a lot of misinformation out there. Is that something that Russia is trying to push or China is trying, you know?
And then on a natural side of things, so like so right now, I guess.
I wonder if that's in the German book.
Probably. You mean the Russian book with Byron?
No, I'm talking about the German school book.
Oh, That's probably true. That supposedly right now there's a solar storms on the sun.
No, okay.
Have you heard of the Carrington event?
No.
So the Carrington event happened during the Morse code, or like, what do you call that?
Morse code, yeah.
Morse code, but what's that technology? Telegraphs.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And a Carrington event happened during then, which was like a smallish solar flare from the sun hits the Earth, and it wiped out like all our electronics back then, or all the telegraph, which was pretty much all of our electronics or telegraph machines or whatever. And we haven't really had that big of a solar. If that happened, same intensity happened today, it would wipe out like all our computer systems and everything.
Wow.
And supposedly right now there's a lot of solar flare activity on the sun.
Okay.
And they're saying like, oh, well, maybe like that movie, instead of a cyber attack, it might be the solar flare that would honestly probably have pretty much the same basic impact on society.
Yeah.
Which, that's an interesting rabbit hole to go down, is just like the solar flares, because like we are so vulnerable to something as natural as that, and we would be screwed.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if that happened in the 1800s when you had the mercury balls and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I wonder if that happened, knocking out their system.
And then they had to start from scratch. Or, because like, I mean, a lot of our like big parts of our grid that run it, there's like, if one of them gets knocked out, like we can't just like build it. Like to build it, it's like we get the parts from Germany or something. It would take like 2 years to rebuild these things.
Just if one went down.
If one went down.
Yeah. Where I hear if you take out like a handful, maybe a dozen of those capacitors that you're talking about, that would knock out the entire grid.
Wow.
Like strategically.
Right.
Which, I mean, I have no clue where those are at. But
yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Maybe they can switch over to mercury capacitors.
Well, that failed in the 1800s, so.
Oh. And then a random side note, did you know that 80% of Nevada, like the land, is owned by the government?
Whoa.
Yeah.
And I heard Elon Musk bought a bunch of land in Nevada that has enough lithium in it to provide like enough electric vehicles for everybody in the United States. But he's not mining it. And he created a new mining system that is a whole lot less harmful to the environment. Like pretty much you just go and take and then put the ground back.
Interesting. So he's not mining it? Is he just like waiting for an opportune time? Like, you know, like.
I think that was a threat to the lithium people that were trying maybe like bully him a little bit. He's like, because he said it when, I think it was when the Cybertruck was coming out.
Yeah.
That he was like, and we also bought this, like we came out with these new batteries and we bought this new site here. But I haven't heard anything about any development on that piece of land. I think it was an attack or a threat to the lithium people that might have been trying to strong arm him.
Yeah. And it's a backup strategy.
Yeah, he's like, I have the technology to mine it. I have the land to mine. So either you give me the lithium, and he's also very generous with his technology. Like he'll just make it public domain, or he'll throw in like the people creating the batteries for him. He's like, well, we're creating batteries, but here's our new technology and what we want. So this is our battery that we want. And then he just gives them that technology to build it. And so I think he also gave the technology of the new lithium mining to some of these new lithium miners that he was already partnered with.
That's awesome.
So
that's so cool. Because I know kind of along the lines with the lithium stuff, I think it was like a year ago, he was saying like, you start the lithium mining business or whatever, and it's like, we will buy it from you. Like he was like saying, if there's anybody like entrepreneurial out there, start it, we'll take it. Like we'll have a customer. Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Actually, I heard somebody, it was just like this little short and kind of what you were saying. And then the guy was like, so I started a lithium mine. And it's like, so what did you do in like 2020? I started a lithium mine.
How do you mine? Like, I honestly know nothing about lithium. Like, is it a rock? Is it like how do you mine lithium?
So way back when, like when we had the flip phones and all that,
Yeah.
like I remember watching a little video on lithium mining and how in Australia was the big, huge lithium miner at that time.
Okay.
And pretty much they would have like these pools that they would throw in and then like into, I think it was water, but I'm not sure what they would throw it into.
Okay.
Some sort of liquid, and it would dry out the materials, and then they would dry it.
Okay.
And then they would do that process a couple of times.
Okay.
But I'm not sure on that.
All right. So it's basically they just like take all the raw material out, dump it into this pool, and then it like separates the lithium from the rest of
it. But that that's from watching a little like thing.
Very knowledgeable. Thank you. My knowledge has exploded with your information.
I had this much information.
Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Please like, comment, subscribe, do all that down below in the comments. Tell us how much you love our locks. Tell us how much you hate our locks. It all helps us out. Yeah, share with your friends and everything. Any last words, last matey? Probably. Walk the plank.